Oh my God, when we came in, we had audio this time. What's up, everybody? This is your host, The Most Time on His Hands, coming at you live with the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast, presented by Underdog Fantasy. Little puppy in the middle there. Working hand in hand. I'm losing money today, so my picks would not have been super great to talk about. I needed a fourth strikeout from the Oakland Athletics starter today, and it didn't happen. We can still make some money with Underdog Fantasy, and you can too if you go to underdogfantasy.com or go on the app. If you haven't registered already, register with promo code FULLTILT, and they will match your deposit up to $100. Look, I need Christian Kirk and I need Chad Pinder to score under 6.3 fantasy points in this Toronto Blue Jays versus Oakland. And I don't know if you noticed or not, Tom Lee, but we've got the Vladdy Guerrero signed helmet. We've got the playoff series Blue Jays hat here, and we're rocking. So I'm invested even more knowing that I need to root against both Alejandro Kirk and Chad Pinder. So enjoy. Exactly. Enjoy your fantasy sports just that little bit much by going to Underdog Fantasy and getting into the action. With that out of the way, as I said, I am Thomas Tipple. You can find me at Thomas Tipple FF and all over the Bird app and the interwebs. And my fun fact of the day is I've spent 16 hours over the last 3 days doing audio editing, and I am back to square one.
It's not particularly fun. I am Tom Lee. You can find me at Tom_Lee92 on Twitter. And my fun fact is this is the first time that we're out of state in Australia doing this podcast. So fingers crossed.
Oh. I find it interesting you call them states as well, not provinces.
Yep. Not provinces, no.
Yeah, that's weird. That's weird to me. I don't know why.
States and territories. We have a couple of territories too. It sounds a bit weird.
So you've combined like Canada and the States all at once?
Yeah, we want the best of both worlds. We're trying to please everyone over here.
I actually don't know if the states have territories either. I'm just assuming that they don't and that everything's just a state. Because I don't know, because I'm an uncultured swine. Look, this is our last show before the draft, Tom Lee. So today is the day. Today is the day to get our final thoughts on the draft. So we're obviously, we're going to be going through, we're going to be talking about draft picks and how they've hit from from the 101 to the 106. Now, last week, we found out that like the 201 is a death sentence. So let's find out who the death sentence is this week.
Yeah.
If there is one, because there are some big whiffs here for sure. One specific that when we got on, I had to vet because I thought you
it's a double take.
I thought you were pulling a fast one on me live on the show. There was a little bit of news this week, not a lot, but of course you've seen it from 672,421 other podcasts this week. We're not going to bang the drum on all of the, news points that everyone's heard already. There's no point. However, there is one that I think does semi-matter, and that is the Sammy Watkins signing in Green Bay. Yep. And it's easy to scoff at Sammy Watkins. Remember that when Sammy Watkins was healthy with the Baltimore Ravens last year, he was producing. You could put him in. You weren't necessarily super stoked about it, but he gave you some decent weeks. And what's important is he's a veteran receiver. And which will help. This is the thing where it's not really going to be a signing that helps Watkins, but it's a signing that will help Rodgers, if that makes sense. Which is then good for your fantasy teams. Pittsburgh, he had 14 points last year. Detroit, he had 10. He was the receiver that caught the big fourth and 19 ball, so clutch. And obviously, again, as is tradition, week 1 against the Raiders, he had 4 receptions for 96 yards. But listen, 4 receptions, then 2, then he was playing a little hurt, then 3, then 1, then 4, and then he didn't play the rest of the year, really. So for the most part, 4 or 5 Sammy Watkins receptions from Aaron Rodgers, and you're going to get some usable games. So
it's a good floor. Yeah.
It's not nothing, right? But he's a player I'm going to be drafting on Underdog for best ball. 100%. I'm treating him exactly how I used to treat MVS. Just, he's going to only play like 5 games. So he's like worse Will Fuller. But I mean, I don't think it's nothing. I don't think it's anything. It. What this means to me is I really think that if they draft a receiver, it's going to be that Sky Moore,
Okay.
Traylon Burks type player because
Yep.
they have kind of signed some speed on the outside, and I just feel like that they'll just be okay with that. Now they need that dominant inside receiver, and I just have a feeling like Burks sitting there is going to look real enticing to me.
Yeah. I'm not going to predict any more Green Bay draft strategies.
You're right. Look for that week 1
Yeah,
production.
exactly.
Now.
Lock in
Yeah.
for week 1.
That's the cute Hurts over on Twitch. Go hit him a follow. The Warzone content is lit. Also, shout out Matty B, our stats master himself, our Twitter extraordinaire and aficionado. When his life is less crazy than mine, which him and I were like dueling back and forth on a regular basis.
Competition.
Who has more shit going on at one time? It's been fun. Yeah, again, it's not nothing, but I think this is something that just helps Rodgers. It's not really something.
It's a good addition, yeah.
And you plug Sammy Watkins in week 1. Like if he's healthy and on the team, week 1 you just play him and you just go, I'm going to get my just
roll that
1 week out of him. Other than that, Derek Carr re-signed. That's huge.
It is huge, yeah.
It's huge for Lamar Jackson. Because my God, that man is going to sign for $60 million at the longer he waits to sign his contract.
More money he earns, yeah.
Oh my God, he's just cashing in 40. What is it? It's $40.5 million per year for Derek Carr, who had 4,800 yards, 23 touchdowns, took him to the playoffs in an insane shitbag type season in Vegas. Got players killing people. John Gruden being a horrific human being, just some real Brian Edwards just sucking, terrible. But I mean it's good because he has been one of the cheapest, bargain QB2s in fantasy football for years, right?
Yeah, he's the perfect foil.
Yeah, he's just been perfect. So I like that you have some stability now in that player that you've been getting for cheap. You can still get him for cheap. If you looked at the rhetoric on the Twitter app, it was overpaid, just terrible decision. He's so mid. Mid is fine in fantasy in that other QB2. Like, you can't tell me that knowing that you get 3 or 4 years of this Derek Carr with this offense, with Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow, and now Devontae Adams, with an offensive-minded head coach, which matters, like a good offensive-minded head coach, who knows? But his systems for a mid-tier athletic profiled quarterback is pretty good with that track record. And then you're going to look at a guy like Trevor Lawrence, who you're just praying to God pans out after a dismal year 1, and now even still just subpar weapons. I mean, I'm openly happier rostering Derek Carr when it comes to winning games. You know what I mean? This is one of those situations where you're losing perceived fantasy value, but winning games.
Yeah, correct.
So
he becomes the next perfect piece for us to replace production, add value.
Yes, and he has been since we started doing this pod. Him, Matt Ryan, all targets. Big Ben was last year for players that can provide replacement level production and adding a little something up top. It's been clutch. It's been key, and I love it. So yeah, as of right now, if you haven't gotten the point yet, I've been shipping off all of my Trevor Lawrence. Now I'm just trying to ship off Trevor Lawrence for Derek Carr plus. And for anyone that's going to argue with me, right, that people aren't panicking on Trevor Lawrence, explain to me why in 34 leagues, anyone that has Lawrence that's not me has tried to trade me Trevor Lawrence this offseason. Every single one.
He'll be amazing.
You can't tell me they're not panicking, because they are. And I'm sorry, for the people watching on YouTube and whatever later or live, I'm looking in different spots. It's because my camera's up higher now because I'm using a different monitor. I had to like switch my setup around. So I'm on the 36, so it's a little different elevation. I'm going to be looking in different spots. So I'm not ignoring you. I'm just not going to be making the same love to the camera, looking as deeply into Tom Lee's eyes as I would normally.
Can only
Also,
say thank you.
yeah, look, I also got to shout out Tom Lee's shirt, Dungeons and Dinosaurs. I vibe with that. That's good. Someone offered me Daniel Jones in a second for Lawrence. See, that's disgusting.
That's rude.
Yeah, like that's obviously trying to buy low, right? That's kind of the counterpoint to that. To buy low, that's too low because Daniel Jones fucking sucks. All right, I think that's our news. Hey, I just also want to shout out. This is season 2, episode 12. We're already at episode 12 in season 2 of the Fantasy Walkabout. It is flying. There is no episode next week unless Billy and I decide to throw one together to do like our last dive into the draft, like what we think is actually going to happen. Because I don't think we have a Walkabout next week.
No, I want it to happen with you and Billy. I want to see the Akubras come on. I want to see the boomerangs come out. Billy loves a hat. I'm sure he has one somewhere.
He definitely does. I might have to go buy one Dundee style with the teeth.
And you're going to put the Australian accent on the entire episode. See how we go.
Yeah, right. So we might do some prop bet episodes on the Walkabout next week. We're not sure because I don't think we're doing a Tuesday episode either. So it'll be like this show and then right into the draft on the 28th.
Yeah.
Or no, Tuesday we
got one last one.
Yeah, because we got to count down from 5 to 1, and then after that, yeah, okay.
I'm here.
I know our schedule, and then of course we have the Full Tilt Devy podcast that we're gonna start releasing snippets from, which I'm super excited about with Andy Starr. But other than that, news wise, I think we're good. We're gonna take a quick second when we come back after I click this button and pray to God that audio works again and that it's not laggy as sin. Hopefully I fixed all those problems. When we come back, we're going to do a shits me to tears, and then we're going to really, really get into this process because, again, as I posted on the Bird app, this has been eye-opening, like big time eye-opening on this. Man, just draft picks, risky business. Okay, we're going to take a quick second when we come back. That's what we're going to get into. Sit tight. Yeah, I get the last word every time.
Yeah, he controls when the show ends.
Yeah, 100%. I could just cut it right now. That's the best part.
It's called fascism, Lucas.
It's not good. Don't love it.
It's called being the only one that has
countries. Sometimes they tell us Kenny Pickett's Brandon Whedon and act like we can't say anything to disagree.
Look, I mean, they're both going to be first round picks. And they're both going to be 45 coming out of college, but yeah, it's fantastic. I love it. I love this show. It's so much fun, even if it is the lowest form of analysis. Jacob. I do love the show. It is so much fun. I have a great time. And when you're the only one that has the time to put these shows together, and then you're also the only one that has the adult money, because I'm not in school to buy all the equipment, you're damn right I get to pick what goes on air. This is how it works. This is what happens. I never said that we should trust me being in charge of content. I never said that.
In fact, no, you said the opposite. You outsourced it. Yeah.
Yeah. I said, hey guys, when it was me, Billy, and Jacob, what did I say? Guys, I'm gonna need you. Otherwise, like, it's gonna go off the rails. And it's gone off the rails. We've just been lucky enough to catch on to other rails to help propel this thing along. But I blame them. Tom Lee, it looks like you have something that's been really getting to you as of late, as we have a shits me to tears today.
It's back.
Yeah. This is look, if you're new to the Fantasy Walkabout, shits me to tears. It's just something that really irritates you, really maybe grinds your gears, kind of drives you nuts. So Tom Lee, what is it in this off season that's really shit you to tears lately?
So it's just a little one. It's just a little reminder, and it's not really something that shit me to tears, but it's something that, like, you can see the frustration growing in your existing leagues. And for me, it's getting frustrated in off-season trade negotiations. So it's a long way until we're playing ball again. Like this is, we've got a lot of time to go. So don't be out there in the DMs, out there throwing stuff around and starting to burn bridges now, because coming into draft time, you're going to need to be able to move these pieces around. And it's just been a little bit of I don't know whether it's just a general frustration. There's not a lot happening now between now and the draft, but I've seen a few groups and a few leagues where people are posting pictures of trade negotiations gone wrong, or there's been a bit of verbal in the chat, and we love that integration, that involvement. But just play the slow ball, because nothing worse than burning off bridges in 2 to 3 spots in a league, and all of a sudden you're pushing for that title and you can't acquire that one piece that gets it done. So it's just a little pump the brakes, ease it back a little bit, be open to it. Everyone's got different opinions. Values are changing very rapidly right now. So not an aggressive shit spin of tears, but a little bit of a, come on guys, like let's just chill just a little bit at the moment.
And it's important, right? Like I even feel like maybe I'm burning bridges when I say no to someone, right?
It's what you risk, right? Like you can burn bridges trying to be too open with your communication too. You can try to honestly have a conversation about it, and it's strong take season. People are not defensive, but very passionate about
there was one
takes and opinions.
Right. So there was one league where I am, I got sent a trade offer and I looked, and I hate on desktop. Like, I hope someone from Sleeper finds this, and you can't see what pick it is.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy, but I said
it's some random 2022. Yeah.
Yeah. So someone sent me a 2022 second, and Irv Smith, and I would acquire, oh my gosh, Kareem Hunt. And I was like, oh, that's easy. And then I was like, wait a minute. And I had to go and look. I have 3 seconds. Which one?
Which one? Yeah.
And they were like, what do you mean, which one? Like, it's a good deal either way. And I was like, well, I mean, maybe, but like, you're not getting, 202 off me when I have like 211. And he was like, all right, well, like, I'm good. I'm taking
the lower one.
Yeah, he's like, I'm good for now. And then he came back. He was like, you know what? That's going to end up being fine. And I thought for a minute, I insulted him.
Yeah.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, we ended up getting it done. And I think that's really important. So just communicate, right? Like, this isn't the time to be ultra aggressive. Obviously, you want to draft picks and whatever. Just be careful when you're sending in the low ball offers, right? When it's a little low, send a little message with it. Like, hey, this might be low, but let's work on something.
Yeah, I'm on a fact-finding mission here. Let's not take it as in the front. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Other than that, I think we're ready to punish a Tolly today.
Let's finish this process. Yeah.
What say you? All right. All right, guys. Look, so Tom Lee, why don't we walk him through the point? What are we doing here? What's the objective? And why not add your opinion on where we have gotten with this exercise so far?
Yeah, so the idea of Punish a Tolly was to have a light or general conversation. So we thought, let's have a chat about what rookie picks have looked like in the last 5 years. And ended up becoming more of a process, hard yakka style thing. Because the more you look through the first 2 rounds historically from 2017 to 2021, it's not good. The hit rate's not fantastic. And really, there's a lot of narrative-driven ways to try and convince yourself that a few of these guys have been good. And hindsight tells us when you could have got out of it, you could have capitalized on value. But realistically, it was hard in those moments to cash out and get away with it. So we've sort of walked through 212 down to 107 to see the hit rates of these rounds. And really, there's not been a lot over sort of 40%, right? At best, depending on what range you looked at. So there were a few big hits. So it's definitely worth taking a few shots. And we talked about that with the earlier to mid seconds and the type of players you should target in the late second. But now we get to the real stuff. So we're talking 101 to 106. This is what everyone assumes will be smashes, locks. These are, the highly touted, highly praised picks across the last 5 years. You can't deny that these guys were, like, we're talking, and again, we're using the ADP from DLF, and we're talking consensus ADP. This is what everyone decided on.
Yeah, it's not like this was their opinion. This is what we all decided we were doing.
Yeah. So we look in today, and We said last week, I'm thinking, it'll be better. Top 6, this is where it's at. Everyone loves a top 6 pick. Not good.
Yeah.
Real not good.
You're risking the biscuit for sure here. But we say lighthearted conversation. I don't know what that was. Lighthearted. I don't know where that came from. I don't know where that came from. Oh my God. But let's start in 2017 from 101 to 106. Leonard Fournette. That's a hit. Should he have been the 101? Maybe, maybe not, but he was. So Leonard Fournette 101. Corey Davis 102. Yeah, we're gonna go hard. No. Christian McCaffrey 103, easy smash. Joe Mixon 104, easy smash. Dalvin Cook 105, easy smash. 106, Mike Williams. I'm going to call him a hit, believe it or not, because he has held at 106. Look, 106, he may not be like a megastar, but trust me, when you see the other 106s, you're gonna call him a hit. Right, because we're talking about some players aside from like really 1 and really 2 out of 5 years. I'm going to call Mike Williams a hit because he's earned his contract, right? He's got the second contract.
Yep.
He's been a wide receiver 1. He has 10 touchdowns. He has had 1,000-yard seasons, and he's strapped to that young stud QB. I'll call Mike Williams a hit. So 2017 is obviously known to be a phenomenal draft, and it was.
It's good.
2018, the Lamar Jackson draft, which I had to remind myself of this. Saquon Barkley at 101. We're going to call that a hit. He gave you 2 mega elite seasons, and we're hoping in year 5 he can come back. 102, can I just ask, what were we doing? What were we doing? Darius Geis was the consensus 102. In 2018. I want all of us to give our head a shake. And Maddie, I just want you to make sure that you're not hearing what I'm not saying. Okay?
Don't get it
My
twisted.
respect for Mike Williams stops at acquiring him at round 1 prices, period. But if you drafted him at 106 is what I'm saying compared to the other players since 2017. All right. I'm calling that a hit. So I just want to clarify my stance.
In this one specific situation, you call him a hit.
Exactly. Yeah. This need at least one first form that was happening at the beginning of the year was fucking asinine. Darius Geis, 102 in 2018.
Swing and a miss.
This one, I'm going to try my best not to gloat. Baker fucking Mayfield at 103. Look, he had some QB2 seasons, right? He was a mid-tier QB2. That was fine. I mean, you don't want that at 103. When you look at some of the other players drafted there, but we don't know what's happening to him. Maybe he'll get you some elite seasons in Carolina, even though Robbie Anderson basically told him to go fuck himself, which I thought was hilarious.
That was brutal. Yeah.
So funny. But Baker Mayfield 103. Rashad Penny at 104. I mean, I'm not willing to call him a hit or like he's a bust. I understand he won you a championship. Awesome. If you got Rashad Penny and you rode him to a championship, I love that for you. He's a bust. Nicholas Chubb at 105, we're going to call him a hit. The guy's just been fantasy elite, even catching like 15 passes. And then Sony Michel at 106, RIP. I love Sony Michel. He's a soft spot in my heart.
Yeah. The one thing I will say about the 2018 draft, right, is we look at this now, we're going, oh my God, 2 out of 6, and the rest were like proper misses. Based on draft cap that year, these aren't bad calls. Like you can sort of see how people were forced to go, like, we need to do this because all of these running backs were taken in the first round. So it's kind of like, if anything, it seems like it's a better situation than our 2021 draft where we had all these talented guys go in the second round. So you can see where the process came in, but none of them came on. And I think that's just one of those poignant things of, hey, this class has sort of had a bit of this upcoming class, 2022, has had a bit of we're not sure about it vibe. There's always a risk. There's no guarantee that when we talk about draft cap pushes these guys up the board that they are going to hit.
And I agree.
Yeah.
Like the data told us for the most part that I can remember. I'm not pulling it all up right now. But like everything said that this is kind of how it should have gone. So
Yeah.
you can't really feel too bad about these picks. It's a real look at why sometimes the argument can be made for the crafty veteran. Sony Michel 106. Sony Michel always have a soft spot in my heart because he helped me beat Austin Coombs or FF Fear the Beard or FF the Beard, whatever beard account he is off the top of my head. Either way, eat shit, Austin. Sony Michel came through with a 3-touchdown game, and I beat you by 1.1 points after you were selling so hard. And then I traded him. 2019, Kyler Murray 101, easy smash. Josh Jacobs 102. Yes. I'm going to call him a hit. He been a consistent RB1, maybe not in points per game, but he's come through. And at 102 for a running back, he broke the odds of the unathletic.
He's done everything he needed that to do. Yeah.
And that offense is getting better, so we'll see what happens. N'Keal Harry at 103. This one hurts Patriots fans. 104, Miles Sanders or Slime Sanders for Dave. I'm going to call him a miss. He's a miss. He has never been fantasy elite in a season for me. David Montgomery, I'm calling David Montgomery a hit. I'm calling him a hit because you have him down as a question mark. David Montgomery is a hit to me. The guy in back-to-back years has done nothing but produce for your fantasy football team. I'm calling him a hit when you look at like other fantasy assets that get drafted. 106, shout out Dwayne Haskins. But he did not work out as a fantasy asset for your teams. Either way, eat shit, Austin. What a quote. He knows that game. That's the home league. Everything gets a little more personal in the home league. As much as I love him, at the same time, I hope he loses every game. Dwayne Haskins at 106. That's not great. So we got 3 picks in there. Because again, I'm calling David Montgomery a hit, and I know he's a plotter and he's not good and blah 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 blah. But if we're calling Josh Jacobs a hit at 102, then we have to call David Montgomery a hit at 105. And I think
the great irony between those two. So we're talking Miles Sanders, we're talking Montgomery. Montgomery's been the production hit. Sanders has been the value hit because for a period there, Sanders was a top 12 dynasty asset you could flip for. Like this was. And Monty was always pushed down. He was taken third round.
And I blame Maddie. I blame Maddie and Jacob almost exclusively for those two.
So that's the only reason those two have question marks for me is depending on which way you associate hits. If it's value, then Sanders is arguably. If it's production, Monty.
But look at David Montgomery in the last 2 seasons. RB6 in points per game in 2020 and RB12 in points per game in 2020.
Helps you win a lot of games.
On some bad offenses. So he's done nothing but produce in that spot. And who knows what happens this year. New coaching staff, people like Jacob really think Khalil Herbert is like an elite tier above. I don't. But at 105, I'm calling I'm calling David Montgomery a hit. Now look, we're getting into 2020, 2021. It is obviously really hard to say if these players have hit or not. As assets, but there are some kind of clear and obvious ones, and then we've got some iffy ones here, Tom Lee. Joe Burrow, the consensus 101 in 2020. That is an obvious hit. The landing spot clusterfuck that was Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 102 has not hit. Jonathan Taylor at 103 isn't quite clearly, obviously a smash. Now the next one, let's talk about Tua. Last name I'm not going to try to enunciate.
Tagovailoa,
Look, I'm not calling him a hit because he's been bad. He's just been bad.
Yeah.
But hey, he's got Tyreek Hill, he's got Jalen Waddle, he's got new coaches. I mean, he's got a way better.
Time. Yeah, he's the guy in a year's time who we could be going. Yeah, that's a hit.
Yeah, when we look at this next year, right? When we come back to this, because we're going to come back to this next year. And check in on these guys. We might be calling him a hit, but right now I'm going to say at 104, not a hit. J.K. Dobbins at 105, I'm saying not a hit. You can't call him a hit because he got drafted into a murky situation. We love the player. Athlete, pure runner. What an offensive team. The end of his rookie year in 2000. in the end of 2020, he went on one hell of a run and helped you win some championships. However, his value has never increased from with the 105 spot. And now he's hurt. Murky RB room. We don't know how he's going to bounce back. We don't know what the offense is going to look like. Melvin Gordon is trying to leverage a Baltimore conversation that probably never happened. But again, we don't know. Maybe if the Ravens draft a guy like Pierre Strong or something like that, then I think you're going to be okay. But if they draft, I don't know, and you might call me crazy, but if Isaiah Spiller splits to the third or fourth round, I mean, you might be looking at J.K. Dobbins a lot differently because the Ravens have 5 picks within those rounds, and drafting a running back is something that they would do.
It's very them. Yeah.
So I'm going to call him not a hit. 106, Deandre Swift. We're calling him a hit. He was a hit last year. Obviously, Swift was phenomenal in the games that he played, which is kind of going to be whatever. He got hurt. He's a running back. They all get hurt. Running backs just get hurt. It's what they do. It's not like you're kidding yourself.
Isn't that the story of 2 different types of backs, though, where Dobbins can catch the ball fantastically, but isn't an offense that doesn't do it? And Swift can run the ball fantastically, but is an offense that's not at that point where that's what he does. And one is a massive, and this is what we talk about and why Jacob goes on about pass catching running backs and why it's so important. And it's why Kenneth Walker is such a highly debated player this year is it matters a hell of a lot when it comes to our outlook for fantasy. So...
Yeah, 100% because DeAndre Swift was the RB 15 in his rookie season. That's pretty good. And then in fantasy points per game in 2021, he was the RB 8. So we're calling DeAndre Swift an obvious hit. 2021, this is where it gets murky, man, because we don't know yet. Trevor Lawrence, if we're just going on his rookie season, is quite clearly a flop at that spot. And most notably, the only player to not hit at 101 since 2017.
Yet.
The only one to not hit. Not fuck that. To not hit. Every other player drafted at 101 hit the rookie year.
Yeah.
So
yes, correct. In the rookie year, yeah.
Trey Lance at 102, we're calling him a hit.
Purely a value hit, right? He hasn't done anything yet.
His ADP climbed. So value hit. He's a value hit. And I obviously wrote 3 reasons why Trey Lance is going to break out in 2022 over at goingfor2.com. So maybe it I don't know, bias. I don't know. Kyle Pitts at 103 was obviously go check it out at goingfor2.com. That's Thomas Tipple with 3 reasons why Trey Lance is going to break out in 2022. Kyle Pitts, 103. That's obviously a hit. A hit. If you're trading for Kyle Pitts, you better be ready to mortgage everything you have in your bank account.
You're not trading for Kyle Pitts, is what we're saying.
Right. Justin Fields at 104. We're not a hit. He's not a hit so far. Again, it's 2021. So when we say hit or miss, we're obviously taking this with a giant grain of it was only 1 year. So not a hit. We're going to call him not a hit for being drafted at 104. And most notably, 104 is the most dead zone spot in rookie drafts since 2017. Yeah. Joe Mixon, Rashad Penny, Miles Sanders, Tua, last name I'm not going to enunciate, and Justin Fields. Right? So 104 looks like the most murky pick in rookie drafts if you go back to 2017. Then at 105, Najee Harris, obvious smash. That's a smash. I don't care if you think he's not good or athletic or whatever. His volume carried him. He caught the ball. He, the same reason why David Montgomery was a hit there. And 105 right now, if you're taking running back, 105, Dalvin Cook, Nick Chubb, David Montgomery, J.K. Dobbins, Najee Harris. 105.
When the depth's there,
Kenneth Walker, 105. If you're just going historically, I mean, hey, it might hit. 106, Jamar Chase. Come on. 106? How did we let this happen? 106. Unbelievable. Hindsight. Captain Hindsight would be proud of this one. So, Tom Lee, obviously a lot of hits, a lot of misses. I'm trying to count it up real quick in my head.
47% for us.
47% hits. That's including David Montgomery?
It's including David Montgomery.
Okay. So 47% hits in the ranges between 101 and 106 since 2017. That's not bad. But
it's higher than the last few weeks, but it's still, I think, for how people associate and value these picks, it's still somewhat surprisingly risky.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the second round had a better hit rate. It was 51%.
And again, we're not talking about overall production, right? These pieces have outproduced the second round. We know that, right?
Oh, yeah.
But for acquisition cost and for return on value, that's why we talk about the differences. What does it hit at different amounts? They don't need to be number one wide receivers overall in the second round. If they are increasing their value to worthy of a first round pick, all of a sudden that's still a hit.
Oh, easy smash.
Investment. Yeah.
And when you do hit on a second round pick, it tends to help your team more often than not.
Yeah.
Right? If you double up your first round pick and that's a hit, and then your second round pick is a hit too, you're getting more than flex replacement production in that scenario. That's how you build, right? But just looking at it, I mean, 2019's draft is looking not great, honestly. That first round just awful. But obviously, let's just look at this, because more quarterbacks being taken the later we get. I think that's big and important. And then you get a lot of running backs get taken here. I think for all the talk about receivers, not a lot of them taken in these top 6 picks. It's running backs and it is quarterbacks. Maybe we see a shift this year, right? That wasn't there previously. But who knows? Maybe this is the year to do that because there's like 2 draftable running backs. But we'll see. I mean,
that's the key. Yeah, we'll see what happens if quarterbacks go. Historically, we look at these picks and we can see what the trend has been. If they go high, they get pushed up, and the value slides back. And I think that's what everyone's hoping for. But a couple of weeks' time, we're about to find out what this is all about.
Yeah, I mean, we're really going to be putting your money where your mouth is. Final thoughts as we check off this board from the last 3 weeks, Tom Lee. Between the 53% that was from the 212 to the it was like 212 to like 206 or 207, and then we did and then we did 203 to 107, and then 101 to 106. I mean, my favorite part of this draft for looking at hits and misses was so far the first episode where we did the 212 to 203, because my God, that the value there was insane.
There's nothing quite like seeing a second round pick hit and the excitement you get. Like, you have an expectation on all of these first, right? But like the excitement when a late one pops is just like Chris Godwin at the 212.
I forgot that's where he was.
Antonio Gibson 301. You can see why everyone's hyped about that. Jalen Hurts 212.
Yep.
These are guys. These are they're the
T.
stories
Higgins
that come out. T. Higgins, another classic one, 203 from 2020. That's the excitement factor, is because these pieces aren't expensive to acquire. You can hit, and it's the flaw in my process. But as we said, like, the other issue is if you take a Henry Ruggs, if you take a Denzel Mims, all of a sudden we're pretty sad. So the risk is there.
The risk is always going to be there, but that's why you're stockpiling second round picks.
Yeah,
that's why you're stockpiling the picks.
Yeah,
because it, like, as outside of 101, even 102 has been dog shit. Corey Davis, Darius Geis, Josh Jacobs, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Trey Lance. Obviously, the Trey Lance one, we don't actually know if he's going to be good or not. But I mean, Corey Davis, shite. Darius Geis, shite. Josh Jacobs, very good. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, shite. You don't know, so yeah, stockpile those second round picks. Like I said, I had somebody DM me. Shout out to Jester, who DM'd me and showed me that he's outright trading for 24 first round picks straight up for like the 2 or the 112 and stuff from this year. He wants that 24 one. And I was like, all right. I mean, maybe straight up was kind of an odd choice, but like I said, in one of the previous episodes,
what's your worst case scenario?
Bet against your league mates. He said, when I asked him, well, this player has 0 2022 picks. He has 0 2023 picks. That's his only 2020 now he has a 2022 first, but it's a late first, and then his team is old as sin. So it's like, all right, now you're betting against him continuing to be a bad manager, and I'll do that. But getting those second and even the early third round picks early, oh my God, do that. Because quite clearly that's the play. Quite clearly you have just as much of an opportunity to hit in that late first and early second, and then mid second to late second than you do in this first round. Because it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was 41%, then it was 49%, and now, like you said, it's 47.3% or whatever.
anywhere up to 61, depending on whether you think these guys are hits or not. So,
yeah, so I don't know about anyone listening, but I've learned a ton from doing this exercise.
it's been a fun exercise. Yeah.
This is eye-opening, and it's really making me think about how I'm going to approach the draft in a couple weeks, because this is a draft that's really going to test all your processes. It's going to test your metal. It's going to test. This might be the least clear draft we've had in a while.
This is a fun one for me because I love chaos, right? And I love takes. I love people being right and wrong, and not only one of the people who's involved in that process, but from a viewing point of view. Ooh, yeah,
you do your stuff silently. You're what we call a silent killer. We had somebody DM and say that they spammed every person in their league the same trade in every league they're in, and they referred it to as the Tom. So you have a reputation, sir.
It's a process.
Yeah. Hey, one's gonna bite. Look, that's gonna do it for that. When we come back, we're getting into our next little bit here and talk about crunch time. This one has been definitely a crunch for my brain. When I first looked at it, I went, this is going to be easy, right? We're off air. I was like, man, this is, and then as I was reading it, I was like, I'm going to be in trouble because I'm going to say some stuff here that I'm going to regret.
Yeah, you're getting a lot of trade offers after this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Look, here's a clip from our show with Ben Gretsch. Sit tight. When we come back, we are going to get into this here. All right. Thanks.
I think people extrapolate positions too much across guys. Like Debo and Ayuk could be an example last year. Like I was really, really bullish on Ayuk last year. In hindsight, clearly too bullish on Ayuk last year. But I still think then when we look at Debo, like I also was pretty over market on him in terms of my exposure, because I think it's fair enough to say when you're looking at Ayuk in a vacuum and say, okay, what's his case? Well, part of it is like that Debo is kind of a running back in terms of like how he was used the previous 2 years, and Ayuk earned all these targets. He's the alpha. Let's roll. Like that's our ceiling case for Ayuk. Then you look at Debo. Like I don't think you have to carry over the Ayuk ceiling case as an expectation when you look at Debo. I think you can include in his range of outcomes. What if Ayuk doesn't meet those expectations? Similar with Hollywood Brown. Like I think it's fair to say in a vacuum that we can be optimistic about Rashad Bateman taking a major step forward when we're looking at Bateman. But then looking at Brown, say, yeah, it's also possible that Bateman just like isn't that good. And he's just like a wide receiver too, who has an 18% target share. And like, maybe that's possible. And I don't think that's necessarily hedging against yourself when you're doing it across multiple different teams.
Definitely one of the most heavy data-driven shows I can remember doing in a while. That was our show with Ben Gretsch at Yards Per Gretsch. Great show. I again learned a lot from that one. That's two guys that approach the game, Jacob and Ben, in ways that I definitely don't. So it was very interesting to get that feedback.
Yeah.
Look. Tom Lee, why don't we explain what we're doing here in this next step while I pull some stuff up here and get locked in?
As you confirm your takes. So the hard yakka, right? This is our fantasy process. All the information we just trolled through from the last few years. What does that mean for us? What are we doing with this year's draft? This is now the exercise that becomes highly relevant. And it's tough because we've been walking through, like you said, these ranges of picks, and we've had comparisons to this year. And they've been vaguely, depending on draft capital, who's going to land there from this year. We kind of know with the top six that these are the most talked about and the most popular guys, give or take a few, right? So the 2022 comparisons here become more relevant because all six names perceivably could be taken in the first six picks. And therefore, the veteran names that you're getting in startup drafts are realistically one-for-one trades or one-for-one calls in the startup draft. So this week in particular, the takes become a little bit tougher for me because you do have to decide who you're taking, what are you doing with it, just because of the extra clarity. So we are looking through 101 to 106. In startup draft ADP, DLF, April, we're looking at who are some players taken directly around these picks as far as picks go in the draft, and who are we taking? If we're in that position and you're stuck on the board, you're in the vacuum, what are you doing with the pick? And this becomes a tough but probably necessary part of the process.
Yeah, this is one where last week I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to take this one. And then I was like, ah, shit. Like immediately after I was like, oh no. Oh no, but hey, remember this also focuses a little bit more on the draft aspect of it and not necessarily like this isn't necessarily a sign of like a 1-for-1 trade scenario, and
No.
I think that's important to remember for sure. Okay, Tom Lee, hit us with the first one. Let's go.
106. So 106 in the startup ADP is going right around a player like Elijah Moore. So it's a bit of an interesting one because you've got a player from last year who we assume is on track to be a hit. If not, you already think he is. But it's right. I mean, this year's draft class is wide receiver heavy, and we think wide receiver heavy at the top. So the other player, from a 2022 point of view, is Drake London. So talking 106, Drake London-ish, give or take, depending on who you think is there, or Elijah Moore.
Man, almost in any other draft,
Yep.
I think I would take 106 because of quarterbacks.
Yep.
But
Quarterbacks and running backs. Yeah.
right, and I believe in Elijah Moore. So right now, look, and the thing is, well, the Jets are going to draft London. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're concerned with a player, or you like a player, but then you get concerned with that player because they drafted someone else like in the same position, then you weren't really in on that player, right?
Yeah.
A player like Drake London is going to help Elijah Moore and do what they were hoping Corey Davis would do. And of course, you just generally want the offense and the quarterback to be better. I believe in Elijah Moore, and I'd be willing to still have him over that 106. I would draft him there right now.
I think I'm the same. I think one, you can do more with Elijah Moore than the 106 at the moment. I think that's partly part of it. Because Elijah Moore's range of where he's been taken in drafts is anywhere really from the second and third round through to the early fifth. The 106, just because of the uncertainty, is sort of also fall into that range. So I'm probably leaning the Elijah Moore way. Having said that, the players you can get at that pick, I have a feeling if you look back in a year, will be quite clearly, you should have taken this guy, and he is now worth more than Elijah Moore. So I understand why people would take the pick side if that's the way they lean. Personally, I like Elijah Moore, but I'm not a stan for him. I'm not saying he is, if anyone else comes in this offense, he can't be outplayed as number one. You could have dual ones. I think he's good enough to hold that. But it's an interesting one. That 106 is a very strange range when it comes to this draft. And without draft capital right now, I'm Elijah Moore.
Right, and then you look at the exercise we just went through, right? And you go back, and 106, Mike Williams, Sony Michel, Dwayne Haskins, DeAndre Swift, Jamar Chase. The last couple of years have been kind of easier to predict at that spot. This year is not. So I'm willing to bet a little bit more with the history. And like you said, Elijah Moore.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get lucky and see more Mike White games for Elijah Moore. What's next? Whoa. Who's getting drafted right now, rookie-wise there?
Who is?
Drake London, actually.
Yeah.
Who? Still, I still want Elijah.
It's a nice looking player.
I still want Elijah Moore, I think.
Yeah. But you got to put, and that's what we've been doing with all of this. And even though we don't know what the ADP and the consensus ADP of these younger guys is going to be, you got to put a name to it. You got to start testing yourself on that, going, oh well, it's a nameless pick, and Elijah Moore, I'm going to take Elijah Moore. No, there's good players attached to these picks.
And chat says more as well, so I don't feel as bad now. What's next?
All right, 105. So we're starting to hone in that top five. We think it's a slightly higher hit rate. So we've got 105 or Travis Etienne.
105.
The player comparison is Garrett Wilson for this year's draft.
105. I want 105. Etienne's foot injury in that offense, man. Give me 105.
The reason this one tears me up more than probably others will is if I was to take Etienne in this draft class, he would be my running back 2. So he would be close to the 103, depending on where the quarterbacks go.
Sure.
That's the only reason I would think, hey, let's have a look at this and give him a shot, because that's where he comes out, rankings wise.
But what if 105 ends up being Kenneth Walker anyway?
So that's the key, right? Is the range of outcomes on 105 is what attracts you. But do you want Kenneth Walker or Etienne head to head? I think that's still a fair question. I think a lot will
injury.
I think a lot will still go with Kenneth Walker because he's uninjured. And but having said that, Etienne's profile, told you a lot about what I think he's going to be. So for me, I'm going to say Etienne. I'm happy to take the loss if that's the case.
Okay.
But I think if a running back hits like that with his explosivity, if he's back to full health, I think that's the guy to take for me.
And yeah, like I said, 105 of the last couple of years, Dalvin Cook, Nick Chubb, David Montgomery, J.K. Dobbins, Najee Harris. I'll take 105, and maybe
Yeah.
that's where I end up taking Kenneth Walker, right? But
And if it's
we'll
not, there's
see.
still a lot of good players. That's the thing. None of these are terrible decisions either way. There's
Right.
a lot of good players, right? But
Yeah, Garrett Wilson for me is just so good.
absolutely. Yeah.
So I think I'd just be willing to. Yeah, I'm willing to take him. Yep. 105.
All right. So we head to 104, and then so we sort of walk through it here with 105 to 103. And there's a reason I picked these players at ADP, because we know that this draft, for the general consensus, is bereft of running back, right? So in startups, you're having to look at, do I want the pick? Do I want the player? So the player we're looking at here is J.K. Dobbins, 104 with J.K. Dobbins. We're talking young, possibly elite, possibly not elite running backs that you cannot really find, we think, in this draft. So
See, this is easy for me.
yeah.
It's 104 for me. It's easy
Yeah.
for me. Baltimore's backfield, we don't know. Injury like that. Like you said, young guy, but his upside already needed to go completely his way for
Yep.
him to reach that peak. And right now, with the player being Treylon Burks as the player, yeah, I want Burks ends up in Arizona or Green Bay. You're laughing your way to the bank, and making that pick every time. So
Thought exercise for you. At
Okay.
what rookie pick would you take J.K. Dobbins? If we were
uh,
sliding it down, at what point? Because these guys are really in a tier. You can take whatever wide receiver you want. Obviously, you have a lot more autonomy the closer you get to the top of the class. So you're taking the guy you like. So therefore, you should weigh that heavier. But
see now that's tricky, because if I'm taking Elijah Moore over the 106, I would take Elijah Moore over J.K. Dobbins. So
yeah,
107, maybe 108 is probably
Yeah.
where I'd look. But
and again, we're not talking
Again-
straight trades here, guys. Like, you're not going to get J.K. Dobbins for 107, 108.
yeah, well, I mean, hey, you might come draft day.
Well,
but
yeah, you're right. You might, but you shouldn't. For me, anyway. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
If you're
I'm
stuck with him,
taking-
you're hoping he's
yeah,
He's hitting.
I'm definitely taking the 104 there too.
Yep, I'm with you. I like 104. I think worst case scenario, people get really, really hyped about whoever goes there, and you can flip him for value if you don't like the pick you got. But for now, especially with, like you said before, the Ravens are interesting drafters when it comes to their team. Very good for their team production on the field, but for fantasy, it could ruin us.
It just in a draft class like this, you get a guy like Burks or London or Walker or Wilson at that spot. Their value is almost guaranteed to go up after year one, just historically speaking. And Dobbins will have to come back this year and be elite out of the gate for him to really repay that value. And if he doesn't, it's year 3, year 4 when we're seeing that. And it just, I think, and this is going to be really sad, I think J.K. Dobbins is a player. And hey, if you listen to the original draft show, not even last year, 2 years ago, when the J.K. Dobbins pick got made, I was jumping out of my seat.
Yeah.
Right. That I jumping out of my chair because the Baltimore Ravens had drafted J.K. Dobbins. Like, I was all in on it.
Yeah.
So I just think he might end up being a player that doesn't ever hit where we want him to. And
I think that's the
really
disappointment.
sad.
Like on the previous point, we talked about, where you would take these guys pick wise, because we're going to get to another young coming off an injury running back again. I still have a lot of faith in these guys, like Etienne, Dobbins, and the next guy we're going to mention. I'm happy to take these shots because I really, really like them coming out. And I just don't think the talent's there in this class from the running back point of view. But these wide receivers could be anything. These guys could be top 12. They have the profile to do it. So I absolutely understand taking the pick. And I probably would like you lean with the pick here. But from 106 back, if you can get any of these guys for 106 back, I'm happy to take that shot. Because I'll ride on that.
Especially when that player's Treylon Burks, though, who has a 91 receiving grade on Pro Football Focus. His college receiving grade of PFF is only below Drake London, Sky Moore, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, and Isaiah Alston. And I don't even count Alston because he's from Army, and he's like a 2024 or 2025 receiver. He's from Army, so I don't really count him. So he's the 4th best. Yeah, and over Dobbins, who's, kind of at a replacement value spot now in his already young career, which is, again, sad to see.
It's a shame.
Next.
Yeah. So 103, or like I said, the third young stud injured running back who we had in the top 12 last year, Cam Akers.
Ooh, 103. Or Cam.
See, this shouldn't be, if we liked 104 for Dobbins, for me, I'm almost surprised that Akers is above Dobbins by
I would take Akers over Dobbins in a second.
Yeah, so I'd agree
because
with you,
Akers is
but-
going to catch passes.
Yeah, it just surprised me going, the amount of people who both hate and love Akers, I would have thought it would have evened out a bit more like level, but there was a sizable difference when it come to draft cap. So, 103 Cam Akers. For me, the same points you said before, a point in. 103 is probably where I'm at. And 106 back, take Akers all day because I still think he's got it. And I know he didn't show a hell of a lot production-wise, but my eye test, he was a pass. Some people say him as a fail last year. But it's the pop. I watch a lot of different sports that aren't just NFL based. So don't come at me saying, I know the NFL better than everyone else. That's not my go. But when it comes to agility, explosivity, this is my day job. And I saw bursts that you just don't see from Achilles injuries. So providing health, I'm still very excited for what Cam Akers can do.
I love Cam Akers. I've said on this show that I think Cam Akers is a locked in top 5 running back if he plays the whole season. Because again, he's going to catch. I don't know how many passes this year.
The issue is that if, right?
Easily be a 40 reception guy with 10 touchdowns. You're looking at a dude that's going to really pull through. But I'm taking 103 here simply because I outright traded 106 straight up for Cam Akers already this offseason. I've done it more than once. Am I going to regret that? Who knows? Especially judging by what we've seen for 106, right? It's telling me that I'm going to be correct. So we'll see what history says. But for the most part, who knows? But I'm taking 103 there because, maybe Malik Willis will fall to me at 103. Right now it says Kenneth Walker. I'm not taking Walker there, but if somebody does, then Burks will be there, or London will be there, or Garrett Wilson will be there. And I'm going to end up being all right with that pretty much through and through. What's next?
So we're starting to get a little more spicy. So we're into 102, 101. And these guys are back-to-back because these picks are pretty close to back-to-back too. I think this will change because everyone has the 101 evaluated a lot higher in real league. So I think it's taking a bit of time for this ADP to catch up. But 102 or Tyreek Hill, the 102 player being in the 2022 class, Malik Willis at the moment.
Man, this one tugs at my heartstrings, and I don't like it.
Because a few things have changed around this, right? One, the narrative on Willis has changed a little bit in the draft because everyone's trying to promote the other quarterbacks to be saying these are the better guys. But also Hill changed teams. So
I think Breece Hall's locked in at the 101. So
yes, same. Yeah.
So man, this is such bullshit. Fuck. Oh, I don't like this one at all. This one
in a startup draft, we're talking third round, right? End of the second, start of the third. If you're lucky, is really where these next two picks are going. So it's a lot. It's a lot to go either way. You're calling your shot saying Hill's going to be the same thing in Miami than he was in KC at that price.
I think I'm just taking the. Man, I hate this so much. I think I'm taking the 102.
Yeah, I'll go Hill, one, just because I want to be different to you. But also,
I don't like it.
Like I said, in startups especially, if we're looking at 102 and it's going to be a quarterback, there's so many other quarterbacks that I would have taken early in that same round over Malik Willis. And it's not to say he can't crack into that top 12 easily, but those top 12 quarterbacks currently, or top 10, depending on how tight you have that group, they're far more important to get onto your roster for me. And at that point, I'm looking for a different position, which means wide receiver is more likely to be added to my roster. But sometimes it doesn't go to plan. So the 102, you're not really losing out on either side of this, right? Like it's still pretty awesome. But for me at the moment, why not just lean the bet? Because I'm going to have the same argument for the next thing.
It's just tough for me because you got a 28-year-old wide receiver that we're projecting to be in a worse situation.
Yep.
Right? He's clearly lost value. And if the pick is Malik Willis, quarterback, super flex value, especially a scrambler if he gets that round 1 DC, which is pretty much That's a lock. You go
Locked,
as early as
yeah.
2. He's almost guaranteed to go up, and even Trevor Lawrence's value has gone up.
Yeah.
And he had the worst rookie season that I've seen
And-
since like Tim Couch and Brandon Whedon. It was
Yeah.
that fucking bad. Like, you know what? It was that bad. Trevor Lawrence was that bad. He was Brandon Whedon, Tim Couch, bad.
Brandon Whedon was taking more confident shots at some points down the field.
Trevor
than
Lawrence
Taylor
was confident. Trevor Lawrence was confident.
when he wasn't on his ass. Yeah.
Only when there was 3 defenders surrounding the receiver, he was throwing it 50 yards to. Then he was confident. Do you think he was confident when he's like, oh, Chenault's running right across the middle. He's by himself. I don't know if I can hit that one, but I can close my eyes and chuck it into triple coverage and blame it on the coach.
Yeah.
And he's like, he was bad. He was terrible.
Don't get me wrong. I'd make some very poor decisions with 3 large gentlemen in my face as well. But
look,
yeah,
I've played quarterback. I played it. I had 255-pound linebackers rushing me, and I will not say I did or didn't throw horrific interceptions. I'm not. There's no video of it, so good luck finding it.
Exactly.
I'm not going to say I did or didn't, but I could see why it happens. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But he was fucking bad. And
the disappointment being that for someone that mobile, he shouldn't have been in that position anyway.
He was not running that much. But either way, his value went up.
Yes.
And he was bad. He was that bad. So even if Willis is bad throwing the football, if he provides any, I see Willis's season maybe going a little bit more like Justin Fields, where he was like shit, and then he scrambles a bunch, and he was a QB1 for like the last 5 weeks. That's what Justin Fields believers really harp on constantly all the time, is they tend to forget the rest of the season even happened, and then just want to talk about. But is because he was rushing the football. So maybe you get some Jalen Hurts value out of him, and his value goes up. Right. And I'm willing to take that because I think Tyreek Hill's time of his value going up is over. So I'd be more willing to take that 102 on him. And it really hurts me to say. And as we talked about on this show, I have traded for and traded away Tyreek Hill. We talked about those deals 3 or 4 weeks ago, right here on this program.
There is a situation where you nearly changed my mind on that as well. Good argument. I like that. If Malik Willis ends up in Pittsburgh, see you, Tyreek, because I'm taking that all
He
day.
won't, but
he won't. Not like, and they won't trade up.
I don't even care where he goes. If he goes to Detroit, sure. Will he sit most of year 1? Probably.
I think that's where your argument is valid, right? Like, even if he goes, like, you could pick the worst case scenario and in the first round early, which probably is Atlanta, but anyway.
No, I don't even think so.
No, but the point is still the same, right? He can still do exactly what you just said.
From running. His value is going to be from running in deep shots. So you want a team that's bad, lot of garbage time, and letting him play. Yeah, Malik Willis. Even if he's if Trevor Lawrence, who was drafted at the 101, was as bad as he was, and I understand he's with the 101 for 5 years. I get it. He shouldn't have been. He had definite holes in his game that everyone ignored. Right? He has that first read problem. Right? He has this. All that shit, whatever you want to say about his decision making, whatever. His value still went up. Justin Fields still went up. Trevor Lawrence, Jesus Christ. Trey Lance still went up. Mac Jones has gone up. Like, it would be very hard for me to see Malik Willis being so bad or going to a spot so bad in the first round, even the top 10, that his value didn't increase next year. And while also providing you baseline rushing upside, which is so. Look, Tim Tebow was a QB1 in points per game whenever he was behind center.
Heisman Tim,
and he was shite. So you're telling me Malik Willis can't at least be that good? He doesn't have the power of God behind him like Tebow did, but
you got no argument for me here.
Yeah, like it just seems like an easy thing for me. I don't know.
Okay.
Next.
Last one, and we've done this before a little while ago, but I like coming back to it because they're still going around the same range in ADP. So
now we're coming back to it where it's purposeful for us, that it's not just
101 or Cooper Kupp, and we are talking Breece Hall or Cooper Kupp. Like that's just at the moment, unless something awful happens.
No, you are, yeah.
That's what we're talking. So 101 or Breece Hall or Cooper Kupp. What are you thinking, Tom?
I'm taking Cooper Kupp. If I'm
The only
drafting, I'm
difference
taking
between
Cooper Kupp.
Kupp
But
and
here's
Hill is that the situation is so much better, right?
yeah.
Yeah. And
Come
I was
on.
going to make that point before. Like, there's a crucial difference to be made there that pretty much the same age, different types of players, but there's one that's locked into a certain spot that is far better and has proven to be difference making.
You're getting 2 or 3 years of what could be Devontae Adams now. Right? Not even that.
Yep.
Cooper Kupp has been nothing but a smash when he's played, and that was with Jared Goff. And obviously, he's not going to do what he did last year, right? He's not going to be the guy that I can outright say will have an outside shot at being the wide receiver 1 like I did last year. Little pat on my back there because no one else does it often enough, so I got to do it myself. Look, my dad beat me down so I could bring myself back up again, and I have to do it through Cooper Kupp. So I'm going to do that every chance I get. And you're not sure he's not going to do that again. He's not going to have 195,000 catches like he did last year. But I mean, 115 receptions is not even out of range, right? Like that seems pretty reasonable even.
Yeah.
150 targets for Cooper Kupp is definitely within range. Easy 10 to 12 touchdowns. I won't say easy because 12 touchdowns in the NFL is hard, but 10 to 12 touchdowns is easy to see, right? So you're getting 1,400 yards, 115 receptions, and 10 plus touchdowns. That sounds like top 3 wide receiver territory to me. And I'm going to take that because I don't think you're just getting it for 1. Maybe you get it for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, you'd expect 2 to 3 years.
He doesn't win with the super athletic play all the time. He can still do it. I mean, he burnt Tampa. My God, I still can't believe they let him get deep there. I can't believe that happened. But either way, I'm pretty sure they can't believe it happened either. And I love Breece Hall. I think he's such a good player. Having him already in like the top 4 of dynasty backs seems kind of asinine to me, but that seems to be where we're heading. But yeah, I'm taking Cooper Kupp there for me, and I don't think it's not a super hard decision. So at me if you want to. The at's right there on the screen. That's at Thomas Tipple FF. But I think straight up in a draft, I'm taking Cooper Kupp before I'm taking Breece Hall.
I don't know. And one, I'm also just thinking you probably changed my mind on the Tyreek Hill thing. I'm going 102. Clip that, Lucas.
He's changing it up.
I'm changing it up. Yeah. No, like this is why we do it, right? This is what Hard Yak is about. You talk through the process. You go, this is my take. This is what I'm thinking. And pre-show, I would have gone, Cooper Kupp. Yeah, look at that. Look what he did last year.
He's only going to be 29.
And my internal monologue is just always who is going to have more value and what can I do with it? Because it's not always going to be on my team.
145 receptions last year.
Yes.
I'm just looking at this again. I just went and looked at it again. That is fucking stupid. But 134 in 2019 was where he was the wide receiver 7 in points per game.
Yeah.
Right. And even in 2020, where he only had was only 30th in points per game. I'm willing to bet that he still gets, if we go in between the 191 targets and 134, let's say he gets 150 to 160 clean. He's getting easily 115 receptions. The 1,000-yard mark is easy. And the 10 touchdowns is a lock in my opinion. So I got to do that. Because you're getting a few years of that, I think.
You got to do that. So I'm looking through DLF's ADP, and like these guys, like I said, they're going back to back. And Breece Hall has been taken at the 106. Sorry, at the running back 6. So like my argument was going to be, that Cooper's been taken at his ceiling, whereas Hall was not. But it's not true. Hall's already been taken essentially at what we think the price is. So from a production point of view, who's likely to be more of a difference maker? Like unless you're in for some sort of
let's check it out. I was just gonna say Najee Harris, but let's look at Najee. All right. So let's look at Najee and let's look to see who you are happier with if you would have traded Najee Harris for Cooper Kupp straight up. All right. You 17.7 points per game. That's pretty good, right? For Najee Harris. Go look at what he was down the stretch though. down the stretch, outside of his the start of his year. Let's say if we go back to like week 12, 39, 18, 4, 52, 13, 2, 30, 21.
Yeah.
Give me Cooper Kupp. Give me Cooper
Yeah, I
Kupp.
agree. So Cooper Kupp for me, like, yes, and we know wide receivers score more. Like, this is just, for some reason, we've convinced ourselves that the boom weeks from a running back outweigh the boom weeks for wide receivers. It's just not true. But could I trade Najee Harris for more than I could Cooper Kupp in an established league? I probably think yes. I'll go with you on Cooper Kupp. I'm gonna convince myself out of the 101. Go with Cooper Kupp. But in the back of my mind, just have this as a caveat. And again, Lucas, clip this favorably for me if you can. Favorably. Yeah. Najee Harris, you could trade for 2 to 3 firsts. And I'm just not sure what you'd have to, like, what people would give up for Cooper Kupp, because they'll just say they'll convince themselves that the aging means that he won't hurt them forever, which I don't think is the case. I think he's going to hurt them plenty for 3 years. So that's why I'll go Cooper Kupp, because
you're paying three. If you were paying 3-1s for Devontae Adams in his 28th season, right?
Great
then you're
comparison.
paying the same thing for Cooper Kupp for his 28th season, and you're probably laughing your ass off to a title.
Team Kupp.
Right? Yeah.
That's it.
So
Fantasy Walkabout Team Kupp.
Well, he's been our poster child since the beginning, especially when you call him to be an outside shot to be the wide receiver 1, like I did.
Tough process.
Can't happen for everyone, but sometimes it happens for some of us. Guys, that's one hell of a process. That was tough. Those last 2 picks I thought were going to be easy, but they were really tough. This year's draft is shaping up to be just absolutely insane.
There's a reason we're called the Full Tilt Podcast. I mean, like, this is what everyone does. Like, everyone's thinking this in their head, and one week it'll be, how could you not take this pick? Another week's going to be, well, of course, Cooper Kupp. Have these discussions.
Our next fantasy walkabout will be 2 days after the draft. So I cannot wait to see how many bad and insanely overreactive takes there are gonna be. I can't wait. So the next fantasy walkabout, unless Billy and I go ahead and do one for props next week, which we may end up doing, I gotta talk to him about that yet, would be the 30th, 2 days after the draft. So I'm ready. I'm geared up and I'm ready to go. Other than that, Tom Lee, I think we have hit everything that we need to hit or can hit or want to hit. So why don't we give some final thoughts before we get the hell out of here?
One final thought was, I just realized you've never said Walkabout.
No, Canadians don't actually say boot.
You said it like last week on the Full Tilt show. I don't know if you know this, but you said a boot.
No, I'm going to
troll back through and get Lucas to find this. I swear I heard in a boot. I'm going, this is...
If I said a boot, it was deliberately.
Okay, all right. It might have been for effect. Anyway, there was just a little nuance thing in my head going, I've never heard of boot. That's interesting.
No, because that's not an actual thing.
No.
Like, you might get some, like, hardcore French Canadien that would say, Jacob does. He does not say a boot. That's not a thing. That's not an actual thing.
Show me the receipts.
Yeah, pull those receipts. We'll have that in the highlight reel for this year that we're putting together, which, by the way, we're putting together a highlight reel.
So while we're talking about countries and languages, I was going through the slangs that I got written down, and I just realized I haven't really been crossing out the ones that I've been doing. So if I ever repeat one, don't hold it against me. But today's is furfy, Tom. Have you heard of furfy?
No. Furfy?
Yeah, so Furphy, furfy.
Okay.
Okay, so firstly, a furphy is a type of beer, right? So if you're over here and you see it, it's fine. It's a brand of beer. But a furphy is like a tall tale. It's like, it's not quite a lie, but if you're telling furphies, you're generally waffling on about, you're talking out your ass, you're telling furphies, you're telling tall tales, and it's just one of those words that it doesn't have enough vowels in it, but it just sounds so fun and it's so easy to use. So don't tell furphies out there, or if you are in trade negotiations, do tell some furphies and get those narratives pumping, because furphies our word to live.
I can just imagine the toughest guys in the world. Like, you're coming back, you spent 4 days in the brush, You fought off 2 roos, a couple dingoes, right?
That's
Crazy. Yeah, exactly.
We all know it was 4.
You're beating down alligators so they don't bite your legs off.
Don't even have
Right?
alligators. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Whatever animals you got there. Either way, stopping whatever. You guys come back through the brush and you sitting there and be like, don't be telling furfies. Imagine these big tough dudes coming out from there, blood on their face, and they use the word furfy. I just can't. Why? It just kind of sounds like you guys are just having the best time of your life is what it is.
Yeah. And as an Australian, I would have thought that this shtick would have run out, I reckon, first season.
No, we got
our country's fucked.
You've been butchering the English language for a long time. We're gonna have
we got a good 10 seasons of this.
By season 3 or 4, we're gonna be rehashing them and not even knowing it.
Not
Mostly
knowing
because
it.
you don't cross them out as we go. So it's kind of like 50-50 shot.
It's like my draft picks.
Yeah. Fuck, no kidding. Oh my God. All right. That's going to do it for us. Look, you're going to want to go in and we're getting a lot more entries, but there's room for more entries for the Saquon Barkley signed jersey giveaway. I have it right down here. It's right here. I got it right there. Look, it's real easy to do. All you gotta do is take a picture, take a screenshot, being rated, write a review. It helps. I mean, it's brownie points. Talk about how great the Ravens are and get yourself boosted up that list for the entry. You know, make sure I really catch on. Take a picture of it and post it. You can DM it to us. That's fine too. We can get a lot of DMs in the @Dynasty Tilt account. You can DM us there. You can post it on anything that we post. Anything that we post, we're gonna go back and look through and bookmark who's been leaving that picture. That's how you get entered to that. Trophy Smack will be presenting the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast April 28th live draft show. We will have swag to give away. Don't fully know which swag yet. We'll find out when it all gets here. But one thing I do know for sure is that we will have a fully customized Full Tilt Dynasty podcast championship belt. This is the full-size championship belt being provided to us from Trophy Smack to give away live. How do you win that one? That championship belt is going to the best comment of the night. Doesn't matter what it's going to be, right? Doesn't have to be about a player. Doesn't have to be about the draft. Best comment of the night will win the Full Tilt Dynasty Podcast Championship belt. That is a 4.5 to 5 hour long live broadcast. Lots of time to get in on that one. We can't wait. 20-some guests. We got Mark Shue going to be there at the draft, giving us live updates from the draft, popping in and out of the stream. We've got tons of guests. We're bringing Mike Daddy's home. He's coming back with Bob Gilchrist. I mean, maybe we'll get some more New York Giants, Kadarius Toney magic. Who knows? It's just going to be an absolutely insane show, and I can't wait. I'm so excited for it. Ben, you should be too. But look, that's going to do it for us. But as I always like to say, be kind to one another. Check in on your loved ones. Take care of yourselves. Don't be a giant piece of shit to other people on the internet. Take care of yourselves. Remember that clear eyes and full hearts can never lose, and that your best days, they're always spent tilting. Good night, everybody. Please let the audio work.